So what's the difference between a police or military force and the common street gang? Nothing. Because they're both common criminals. They're both members of gangs. And I wouldn't even be afraid to say that they're both members of cults. We do not question the orders, think for themselves, and they both indicate violence to enforce their policies. Both hold in secrecy and both have a lack of transparency. Both conduct within their members' policies to create that kind of reality we live in, and they're ultimately responsible for their behaviors. So they want to somehow show and advocate for themselves as a responsible person, or appear as responsible on the outside of their activities. When they're taken to that sort of action against another human being, it's wrong, and especially when it's repeated. These are setups, attacks, strategic moves. Yet these people are the ones who are responsible for doing the harm that's been caused in this country. So we look at mafia crime, and this is big in a certain area of the world. Here in America, where a lot of these people are involving themselves within some kind of mafia or mob syndicate of some sort, and then just regular street level gangs. So let me ask you a question. You're right, they're all identified as gang members. So here's my question. Does it mean that a bad person running drugs or running number tickets or taking bets or something like that isn't the same type of gang affiliate person that seems to strike hits on people or is hired to set street hits on people? Well, you might say that one person who is committing a high crime is basically on the same team as the person who is condoning the same act of violence, same act of condoning. They might not be performing an act or taking up behavior to harm another one's life or at the bottom, but yet you could say that they're on the same team because they're the ones who are helping each other doing that very thing. So I guess it's what's known as being complicit gang members. You get people running on both sides of the fence like that. Or I would even call it complicit cult member, because they're just as involved in who are supporting the institution that operates to run their behavior, and are just as complicit as the murderers in the institutions themselves. So these are just those actions of a street gang. These are just like those actions of a street gang. This is a huge problem we're facing in society today, and it's bad in places like Chicago and out west. Minneapolis is another one, or many other inner cities that have had a lot of problems with inner gangs. And they will say, well, what about the lower level gang members that are selling a little bit of cocaine on the corner, selling a little bit of marijuana, these lower level middle-aged men who are selling 10s and 20s out of the local gas station or whatever. And they'll say that they're also on the lower level, but there are the same gang that conducts that same violence. They might condone that violence, or that's what they want to say. They want to say that these lower level gangs are the same level of gang ordinances like those higher level perpetrators of a true crime over a person's life. they might condone to the violence, or might be condoning in violence for the territory purposes in like higher echelons of gang violence. They'll conduct violence just to be able to operate within the region, so that they aren't hampered in their money-making process. Hence, that's why they're called a gang, to control the territory that they're operating in, so that they can keep everyone else out that's trying to operate within that territory. What I'm trying to say here is that it doesn't matter what kind of level these people are operating in. They're operating within a gang, within a cult, or within that of a conduit of itself of violence upon another human being. Therefore, it takes their own ideas of how they would have otherwise moved in their life, possibly. Otherwise, then be complicit of all of the acts of violence that are within whatever side of the gang that they're running in, whether it be for the law or otherwise. It's still murder. And then in cases like I'm in, where it's like people actually do take it to those levels, are just left here. Like what's going on with anything? Aren't the police themselves doing the same things then as these human beings are? And just on a more powerful level. I think, well, not more powerful level. I mean, people themselves do, but it's like you don't know where the enemy attacks are coming from. So when there's no one coming to your rescue and you're saying all of these things, and I've brought things up to the police before about these things, they don't fucking do anything. Where are they? Just complicit, just like I'm saying. I think sometimes about, being seriously injured in life because of the actions of these thugs are taking and police are taking, because of the actions of the criminals themselves they take, and then it's just the same thing. How is it okay for my life to be put under threat in so many different avenues of my life, and then you going to them as like they're supposed to be the conduit to stop these things, and like I'm just left in disarray. I go through fucking everything, just go through the mill. I mean, which part of my life was actually mine? Can you tell me that? So I think you're right. Right now, no one truly believes that they have the right to perform their own acts of organized crimes against another's natural right, and yet they do it all the time. And it's just like the police within all of their well-known misconduct. Everyone knows about it. No one wants to actually really talk about it, and those that do end up getting snuffed out in ways I'm getting snuffed out at anyway. So why the fuck would I care about coming out here and speaking out about topics that need to be talked about? Well, I've been wanting to talk about it for years. I've been wanting to make things, and make movements, and do things in my life a lot more sooner in my life than what I've been able to, based on things that have been happening to me covertly, meant to destroy me up, and so viciously quick. I'm going to say I'm not gonna act as though I'm unafraid of what can happen to me in these kinds of ways, or even with lower level street theater that can be perpetrated by a criminal in that kind of way, covertly. So people have got to be open to the discussion in society and not be such chicken shit to see that, well, there's something bad going on in our world. We have to try and make it better, and not be pushed to not being able to do something about it. We should be able to rise up our voices and be able to do something about these abuses. We have every single right to want to do something about it. And the police and the military, well, are you guys going to act as criminal conduits of the act of violence against other human beings, just as the street thugs are? Or are you going to stand with the people that have these crimes happening over them? And if they do go as far level as CIA deep and CIA run, where they're just escaping the conduit of like, oh, we're actually after these people's bloodlines. Well, how the fuck do you expect for like there not to be absolute lore being brought back into the faces and the minds of these criminals that think that they can act this way to us? And how in the world are we not protected in being able to do so when they've taken a whole heartless fucking war over our entire lives, and an entirety and an entire way is meant to like make you suicidal and push you into those pills, and push you into those places. It's just to push you into urban blight. And either way you look at it, when you're in that kind of way, you end up going into the ER, or you don't know what's going on, so you end up going to the ER. Well, what happens there is you go to the ER and they don't really ever find anything wrong with you. You're fine. Okay, so you walk out that door, and the next thing you know, you're eventually going back there and you got diabetes and shit. And like, I don't know, what they do is just levels of harm and levels of harm and levels of harm until it actually creates harm in your body and creates that dis-ease. But dis-ease is just that. It's really hard to explain where I have work on that, but I wholeheartedly believe that every single disease that's known to mankind today is completely curable. Power of the word, the Gospels. So what these people do is harm society on levels that I can't even comprehend, to have the nerve to even go into to speak on these days. But I choose to speak on it because it just is so harsh and horse shit in our lives. And because people are being so overrun and run down into the freaking ground without even realizing it for years and years on end, who or where it's coming from, they realize they're being run into the ground. They're collecting all of that information, but just like these euphemisms that like to overcast over anything that we have to say out here, like, this is just the way the world is. What are we to do anything about it? I don't. There's a lot of euphemisms that really take away from the far greater of these common criminals leave upon us, and it's simply because I've been formally putting together the real, true, honest parts of this stuff to help people see and bear witness to it. But people don't want to bear witness to it. And it's pretty obvious to me. Look at my views. I thought I would be getting a whole lot more views by now. But it's just that, in and of it, in a nutshell, is that I believe that there's algorithms in place that can silence us, make sure that we're going to get into places that don't allow us to get heard by people that need to hear us, or would love to hear us to be able to step into this with us, because of, whatever they know, whatever they have going on in their mind might be enough to help save some life. But it's just like, I had to witness to it my whole life. I had to witness others who had basically the same things going on in their lives, who were just being honestly broken down their entire lives for their entire spirited selves to ever be able to come to life. And their lives were being shattered, and in ways that they weren't gonna get back ever. Their lives were shattered in ways from the abuses that made it to where that person could never become that whole integer of themselves. And then instead of like being the kind of conduit that I'm trying to be here, and it's like not saying that it's a wrong thing, because sometimes you are. You're just so lost and give up on everything. Let's just I guess be like the rest of everybody, But it's true. The the feelings that you're just going through are yourselves being extracted from yourselves. You're honestly being broken spirited because they feel as though, you know, your lives are shattered. You're feeling extracted. You're not feeling like who you were able to become, that you could ever become that person. You don't feel as though the life you've gotten to live, as if it's the life that you meant to live in the first place. You wanted to be somebody else. You wanted to be able to move in different ways in your life and be before all the coercive havoc that entered into our lives unwittingly by the very own criminals and the justice systems, still acting insanely against you in overwhelming fashions. It's simply absurd that no one cares to speak out against this. No one cares to do anything but shame us. No one cares to do anything but deflect. And it dawns on me, like, is the devil really that good out here? That's got all your minds, like, and unable to actually go to a person to help them in this kind of detriment, this kind of suspense. I mean, when you ought to be shaming people to be performing these kinds of actions that are performing the same things that we're supposed to be protecting, the same things that they're supposed to be protecting us from. I mean, it's a shame in this country, and it's a shame that even to think that it goes to levels as deep as what some of these things are suggesting is like George Floyd. His family got paid $2.7 million. There's other people that lose their lives. They don't get any footage at all. Like similar fashions. Need to be sued. Companies, whatever. These companies are just well protected. No one ever gets anywhere. No one ever gets hurt. You know, so I really highly think that what makes the news and what makes it out there and what everyone goes all fucking hog wild over because they're so into the news. Well, look how fucking easily your tongues are being ripped out of you. Look how easily your minds are being ripped out of you. Think for yourself. So, has technology done anything good for us? Fuck no. Technology's made nothing but a fucking monster out of this fucking world. You never actually have had anything but brutality for protection. You've never had anyone protect you, or even ever consider protecting you when it comes to these heavy crimes that I'm speaking on. People wouldn't even think that gang members have the right to do the kind of things that they do, or the mafia have the right to do the things that they do, but yet people still believe in governments and that they have the right to conduct violence upon their own people. I just think it's a hideous way to look at it. If you look at the acts of violence that are coming from specific cult members, and they can call themselves police officers, and they can torture people, pepper spray crowds of people. When I was growing up, I got shot at by a guy that's probably a cop today. I don't even give a fuck. I don't care about how these people make their money. I think they're honestly going to hell, and I don't really care. Who are they for actually acting out with our natural rights to protest and to protect, so that any one of us can escape these kind of occupational hazards that are causing them to leave us in states of duress, leave us ultimately murdered up people, and leave us just completely desolate in a broken land without any justice, no liberty, and no one is coming to take a stand with us or for us. It's just so hard when, while we're out here, people look at these kind of violence of conduct and just throwing paralyzed men out of wheelchairs because they can't stand up upon command. Ripping a child out of his desk at school and throwing them down to the ground, or an innocent teenage girl even getting violently attacked by an officer. By turning chairs over and backwards to almost breaking a girl's neck, pepper spraying students, protesters with 2 million Scoville pepper sprays, kicking a handcuffed woman around, kicking her. She can't do anything already. Like, and you gotta fucking be, you're a big bully, you're a big man, you're gonna fucking kick her around. Oh, okay. That's what pays the good bucks these days is just take people that are wildly already fucking disenfranchised, get their arms behind their back, and kick the fuck out of them. You know, and then it's wondering why people take it to levels of like, with what people do. You know, and then they get articles, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's just crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy. But the part that's crazier is that people don't really usually see the other side of the story. People just see that someone got made into a madman, and they ended up going berserk. And in all honesty, a lot of times, oftentimes, I think these men have real rights to go berserk. I don't know. It's not okay for these people to go on this way, to act this way, and to call themselves like, oh, they're like running with law as if it's supposedly protecting us with our inalienable rights given us to us by God. So that's what I think a coward is, and that you make money for it is even more pathetic, because that's exactly what it is to be a coward. If you ask me, in my book, you want to run over people's lives that way, and especially when it comes from people like someone you know that can fucking work in that way your whole life, playing a part in your whole fucking life. So if he's playing a part my whole fucking life, how is my relationships not also played in that same way? So this goes to levels deep, completely stripping me from me, and these gang members just want to be complicit. Okay, where's a motherfucking nigga supposed to go with this kind of shit then? Allow me to tell you folks that this is a tame example of the kinds of police brutality that is happening in this country. Truly mild examples that are opposed to what is really going on in the country by our own police and military. And you'll see that by the paperboy bringing papers to these people and the bullet points and articles about the police. But they're the same kind of people that we need to be modeling and for the troopers to become. So who is the paper pusher in this country? Who is the big paper pusher in this country? He is also a gang member, occult member, or someone running with that affiliate. Just like that of a gang member or a mob, and like the lower level gang member selling cocaine on the street corner. It doesn't matter what level of complicity you're in the behavior of violence against humanity. You're in it, and you're oftentimes found out that you're getting paid really well. So we're complicit. You're still complicit in the act of the violence against the people that are destroying them at the soul level, and then these people are just become husks of who they could be. They're spiritually dead. These people out here working in this way, they're spiritually dead people. They have no soul. They have nothing to them. In the end, it won't matter to them because they can't believe in a God. But soon time will tell. There is a God. People want to make claim that I'm dehumanizing people or that I'm far too depressing and stuff, and that's just flat out wrong. I have a lot of spirit and stuff. I'm very tired. I'm not trying to dehumanize anyone. I'm just trying to explain to people how dehumanized and spiritually destroyed a person can actually become. And you don't even want to know why. You don't even want to know. And that was even when I was writing then. It's not because all of them are being able to reach their own words. True to human life and nature's words won't even reach the people because they're so spiritually dead on that soul level. Not all of them though. because we have to reach some of them, and we know that not all of them are spiritually dead, so we know that we have reached some of them. But our job is to reach all of them. Our job is to not just reach the few that we do, but to reach as many as we can while we're alive. This is the greatest work that we can do out here, I think, folks, because though it can't be well set with people, and it won't sit well with people, because of the violations of law that have proceeded in their own lives, their own families' lives, and their own friends' lives, because of how it's been such a conduit into our own lives. I'm just saying that we have to step up our game, people, to reach more people, more family members, more of the people around us, and use our words with reason of morality in this country, or we otherwise going to end up living in a completely and utterly destroyed place from the inside on out through a spiritually broken level of the soul, where people won't even be able to do much living at all because no one will remember the dreams that they used to have. They will all be destroyed. They will all be dead. And on the soul level, they might not even wonder why. On the soul level, they might even begin to be so dead inside that they've forgotten all about what it would mean to be a spiritual free person, able to thrive and able to live as though they thought they ought to be able to live, because that's what freedom was about. Freedom was about independent thinkers and independent workers being able to create that kind of version of true living that could be truly happening today. But instead, we have this thug life mentality that's leaving us desolate, where it's playing key players in all areas of our lives that are meant to decimate us. And we're not broken. We're not meant to be broken. When the justice system is corrupting lives, and one people in their dreams goes corrupt, the whole reality gets corrupt. I don't know if you can put that into perspective for yourself, but that's the truth in and of itself, is that once one person is duress, we should all be in duress. And then once one person's dreams gets corrupt, the whole reality that we're living in is now corrupt. The most profound people who have brought themselves to dreams have been marked by being so painfully broken and been through so many spiritually deadened times that they become husks of themselves instead of becoming to be able to be a real pusher in the way of this world that's exteriorly telling a people what they should become. And I don't think that people should be pushed and told anything that they should become. I think that people should be inspired to be the things that they themselves feel through the Lord that they want to be. That they, through the media, tells us anything else, tells us that people become in that way so spiritually dead as the people that they're living today. And then you're just supposed to accept the fact. You're supposed to just accept the fact that these people can go out here, work in natural life, the natural resources, and within our natural rights as human beings, and then yet somehow be able to strip every single one of them away. These are the people that don't have an understanding of that moral compass or that kind of reality that we could make. These are the people that we have to reach to with understanding and morality, and that is our job. That's the real work out here. It's the hardest work that anyone can do, because to get anyone awake is like trying to wake up a zombie in a dead sleep, unable to see the detriment of this kind of brutality that can be taken into a person's life, leaving them completely wiped out, I might add. Like, I thought I was wiped out then. I mean, no, it just goes to so much worse levels deep, and that's what it's made to do, because yeah, no one deserves to live as I've had to live, and then at the same rate, because of how the enemy is so pushed in my life, neither one of us, and no one in it deserves to live and die as they're going to have to live and die, I believe, because of things like that, and it being taken into levels that deep, because you lose your mind, the reason to think through these things on that level. And so instead of that, because people are so dedicated to evil, there is no reversing these orders in their lives. There's no way to reverse these kind of payments that have been made. There's no ways to reverse the kind of stages that have been set, because they're just so complicit with their evil and dedicated to it is so that no matter what happens, regardless, it's just meant to defame you, take you up out of stance. And when that performance of all of their evil still restricts a person through the Lord, it really upsets them. So I ask people to stand firm in the Lord, because that's exactly what the cult is doing on their terms. Is they're standing firm on their works, and they're standing firm on their ends, and they're standing firm on what ends that they're taking up place in. But they simply don't understand the kind of evil that they're partaking in if they're just complicitly willing to blindly accept the money to just go about performing evil in that manner, and to continue to do it, or to find love in it somehow, thrive in that kind of murder spree. It makes sense if the identity itself of the person was completely complicit with that kind of cult identity to end up telling themselves that they're already so far in that they might as well just be all the way in, type of thing, and just to go all in. But I beg to differ, and you should convince yourselves that you are wrong, and you should turn away and become thankful men again. Come out of the institution and the occult type of mind. And while people like me are out here trying to speak out about this kind of occultism, this satanistic, ritual abusive type of way that's been taken in our lives, it is because I feel as though we have been so affected by it. Well, 1,000 times I feel like I've been affected by it. Yeah, that is more of a knowledge now. But as far as the duress that it leaves you in this beginning to become, and it's just you can't become, and then with whatever you could become, it becomes irreversible, of a feeling as though it's all going to be irreversible in a fashion that's going to leave you off dead, leave you off in a hearse. And I just think it's pretty fucking sad. And I feel like I have like the absolute right to use deadly force on American soil, and that's scary as scary can be. I'm sure for a motherfucker that could do that to his own friend, but I would just do anything. I could do to want to reverse it, and assert my power to be reckoned up with against these kind of people and against these kind of attacks. And I've already set my tone with the kinds of people that seek to destroy me on that soul level. And then not knowing that it could go to those levels, it's just that they knew all of these things. It's like you're bringing the information to the dam. You're like bringing your problems and your story and everything to the damn person that's creating them. So they're just basically stealing up your life, trying to arrange it to where they can basically arrange for your death and walk in your shoes in different areas of your life, even, for crying out loud. Who fucking knows? The individual's just such a fucking dead husk of whoever fucking he could have been as a man. And it just deadens my natural born abilities to even feel like I can just stand up on my own minded individuals way and like go about my way. It's destroyed me on the soul level, and it's gotten me into trouble. It's gotten me into places where I just never should have ever been having to go into. And I think even the people that ran the courses on me would tell you that they brought me to the side and said, Matt, we don't know why you were even here.